Hello, and welcome to 6 Degrees from Cannabis. I'm your host, Tori Rerick, PharmD and holistic healer. Each episode features a candid conversation about how connecting with the cannabis plant has enhanced an individual's wellness journey. Here to honor the plant, talk about healing, and have fun. Calling all truth seekers. Today's conversation is majorly unconventional. Laury, who's a cannabis lawyer, discloses that despite her Haitian heritage and growing up using herbs to heal, cannabis was off limits. She speaks of how her initial cannabis consumption was a mechanism to escape her anxious reality, but eventually shifted as a tool to observe what comes up in her body. She explains that as her spirituality expands, so does her relationship with the plant. Keep listening for an out-of-the-box perspective on the privilege and holy opportunity of professionalism and the feminine, receptive energy of the plant. Let's go to the show. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today I have on Laury Lucien. She is the CEO of The Major Bloom, founder at 67 Degrees Brew, and adjunct professor at Suffolk Law and Clark University. Welcome, Laury.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting.
Yes, I'm stoked to know you. I just got a behind the scenes view of Laury's chart, everyone, and just trust me, this is going to be a good one. So I like to break the ice by drawing an oracle card from my Follow Your Heart Oracle deck. And this was highly inspired. This was created with cannabis in mind. She was my muse. And so I want to hear what your connection, with the flow card and cannabis is. So of course, anyone that's listening, we have the image of a water droplet. There is this orange shadow about it, tying in our sacral space. But Laury, give us your take on how cannabis is connected to flow for you.
How cannabis, so first I look at the card. That's a drop of water, which is a feminine energy. When you see water, you see spirit. And so we also identify the plant as a feminine energy. So the feminine is receptive, so it allows you to be more receptive, which is what flow is. Because we can only do two things, right? You're either pushing out or you're receiving. Those are the only two directions. And so a lot of times in life, we're in our dopamine, right? We're doing. And in so doing, we become very stiff. When you become that stiff, this is when you see a lot of entrepreneurs developing burnout. They're not fun to be around because they're producing so much dopamine. They're not in flow. The key is to tap into a serotonin pathway by letting go of your attachment to outcome, right? And just being attached to experience itself. And that is what flow is. And the cannabis plant, I think, has come in this particular time to allow us to secrete more serotonin and balance our endocannabinoid system as a whole so that we can be in the flow of this divine intelligence that created the entire universe and us, including us, right?
You summed that right up. Yes, you did. The water signs coming right through, just giving us the wisdom straight away.
Dang.
Yeah. All right. So what was your original perception of cannabis? Has it shifted?
So I started it out extremely scientific, a science mind. So very rigid in my concept of cannabis. And I grew up in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, in a Christian school with Haitian parents. So, when I first came to America, I understood that it was a plant. And so because in Haiti, we use herbs to heal, I immediately had a question mark about what I've learned in science. But it wasn't until I consumed it myself, right? Experience, where I developed wisdom about the plant myself and realized the lies that we were told. And it opened a whole new world to me. And so now my experience with the plant has expanded as my spirituality expands, where I now know that all things are divine expressions created for a particular and specific purpose. And knowing the purpose of the plant, I'm grateful that it came in my life because it's enabled me to work through some of the things that I had to experience living in Haiti,
Yes. Okay. So growing up, herbs were common and used for different ailments and just regular life, but cannabis was off limits.
Off limits.
And then you're like, okay, what's it about this plant? Now I'm actually curious. Now I got to get into it.
Right. You're getting a Scorpio involved into the occult, right? The occult is the unknown. So you just put the plant in the occult. Now I must know it.
Yep, that's directly where she went. Okay, good. So I guess what was that transition like for you to start exploring cannabis?
Well, the real thing is, at first I was using cannabis as a mechanism to escape reality, right? Because everything has polarity. This is neutral. It's how I desire to use it. So initially I was using it to escape anxiety and all of that stuff, until I started realizing that that mechanism of healing is actually bypassing, and I'm actually making myself worse. So I decided to infuse the plant, or ask the plant, set my intention, speak to it, so that instead of allowing me to escape, it will enable me to sit with my truth and sit with whatever arises within my body, so that nothing within me is wrong, nothing within me is off. And because I asked, I received. And so now this plant that's how it works for me. It allows me to just accept everything that comes up within my body, not resist. If I'm angry, I'm angry. It is what it is. If I'm sad, I'm sad. If I'm happy, I'm happy. I'm just observing all of it now, instead of thinking that I'm doing it like I am angry. Nah, I'm observing anger within the body of this, mind, body, spirit complex.
Completely. That was the next question. How does the plant serve you? That must be the overarching way, I guess, day to day. How do you see your consumption?
Yeah, that is exactly how it serves me. It enables me to tap within myself so that I can step back and observe.
Mm-hmm. And so then there's always reciprocity. So how do you serve the plant?
That's awesome. I serve the plant by serving those who desire to serve her. So I help people access the cannabis industry. So I shouldn't tell people this, but literally if you call me and you catch me on the phone, I'll talk to you for like 2 hours and put you up on game. I will, because it's my desire to help you expand and understand. Like for me, people ask me, why are you a traditional capitalist? Why do you like money? Well, the universe is, I come from abundance. I don't know about you, but my soul is abundant. So that's where I'm at. And some people have not learned that. The soul's evolution in this life is for them to learn their capacity to generate abundance. And if that's the way that the divine creator wants to utilize me in this time, space, reality, then I'm humbled by that opportunity. So that's how I serve the plant in this capacity. And also destigmatizing her name and putting her back in her holy position in the consciousness of the American people in the world.
Okay, so let's talk technically. How do you do that through law?
Boom. Well, so activism, obvious, so you have to change the law. But to me, this is why I don't consider myself a lawyer, because if I can write the most fair, just, equitable law, but if it has to be written and interpreted through a racist prism, or I wouldn't even say oppressive, because oppression comes in all forms, in an oppressive form, then there will find a way to extract the negative polarity in whatever I write. Because you have to know the rules of the universe. Everything has good and bad in it. So what my objective is not to say fuck the law, but my objective is to go back to the root of the consciousness of the people. Because if I can get people to drop down in their heart space and realize that we're all connected, I could write the most oppressive, separatist law. They will find the polarity within that to bring out truth and love within it. You feel me? So I can't fight the law anymore. That's where I'm at. Yeah. I reached that burnout this year where I was like, I can't do this. I literally need to be speaking to the people about their need to tap into love, into the divine intelligence that has created the entire universe. That's the only way we're going to stop this shit. Because then we're going to say racism. Then it's going to be colorism. It's going to be
call it something.
Yeah. So the solution is to get people to understand we are all one. What you do to you, to her, you do to me.
And that's like an interesting lens. And that's like something I feel like we can relate on is this professionalism and being in this position within this play that we're doing. It's like, yes, I thought going into pharmacy was like me helping people and in this very particular way. And what I've realized now that I've broken out of that traditional model is like, yeah, that was like my avatar. But now I get to speak to all these people about cannabis, about self-love, about mindfulness. And that's the medicine.
That's absolutely it. You're doing the work.
And that's why I wanted to have you on, is like for people to see I can be a lawyer and think what I want to think and display that.
Absolutely. Honestly, every single person on this planet is a fractal of the divine creator. Fractal means a piece, and you have a piece of that light within you. That means that divine intelligence is inside of you, guiding you. That's the next thing. It's literally telling you what to do. Whenever you have a desire to do something, that's the divine intelligence. That's God saying, go do this, go do that, say that. But then you have an ego that tells you shut the fuck up. And the ego is the program that's the opposite, right? And so a lot of times we allow that ego to shut down the voice of the God within us, or we allow our parents to step in and be our God because we abdicate our sovereignty for what they want, or society. And so it takes real courage for a person to say, I don't care what anybody says. I respect and honor your position and perspective. However, I have the right to follow what this divine being within me, what I was created to do. I have the right to do that. And my purpose for existing is to follow the voice of the creator.
Mm-hmm. So how do you do this? Like, because I'm right with you. I'm walking this, I'm like with you. But how do you personally get on that level with people? It seems like you might just let people come to you who are ready to hear this, but you're also in this field where I feel like people are not ready to hear this. Right.
Well, the thing is, like, it's frequency, right? They wouldn't even be in my presence if you weren't in a particular frequency, right? That's just the way it works. And so it just turns out that people around me tend to want to hear this. And some people who don't want to hear it need to be triggered by me so that they can awaken to some truth within them. People are afraid to trigger people, but it's only when I trigger you that you notice that there's something wrong. Like you get shocked into asking, okay, why am I so mad about this? Then you stop blaming me, and then you go into the root that there's a child inside of you that might feel abandoned, or there's an aspect within you. But if you keep blaming me for triggering you and calling me the villain, then I will continue to play that until you awaken to realize that I've come here to show you the truth of how much you do not love yourself.
Wow. Yeah, completely. That was so needed. Like, I think that line was for me today. I'm so afraid to trigger people. I'm very like diplomatic and political and just like, don't want to cut anyone off, but also that's your freedom. Like, be you.
And they are literally putting you in a box because of their own programming. You know what I mean? If you can look at it as like everybody's carrying this software that's an infection, and because they're encapsulated, they've given up their freedom to the matrix. They're like, how dare you be so free? You need to put yourself in that box. You know what? Putting yourself in that box is literally killing you. Because when you do not follow your desire, your will, your body starts to get depressed. And when it gets depressed, it starts to activate mechanisms within your DNA to get you out of this body. Literally not following your heart kills you.
Definitely. That's the exact reason I left pharmacy the way I did. I just saw what it was doing to the other people I was working with. I was like, I will get sick. I'm not going to be well if I keep this path up.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, tell us about the Major Bloom.
Major Bloom. Okay, that is a vertically integrated marijuana business that I started with my business partner Ulysses about 3 or 4 years ago. It's literally a theory that we're applying. It's a concept. It's an idea where it's capitalism, but where the center of our capital is humans. That's what we put first. And so we want to know, if we create a business where we put humans first and we put the community first and we put impact first, what is that impact going to be for us in our bottom line? Because the people say that if you put humans first, you're going to fail. You want to prove the opposite. And so that's the whole ethos of our business. And the business is designed as an incubator where every single person who works within it is getting educated, but they're also educating us. Because like from Kemet, master is a student is also a master. So we're all teaching each other. We're creating this ecosystem where everybody can rise. And as you rise within the business, you have a mandate upon your life to help the other generation rise as well.
Yes, so beautiful. The community, that's just one of the biggest aspects of cannabis that I'm seeing trickle. And it's, of course, we love the consumption. We love like what happens in our own being when we consume, but so much of cannabis is about the network and the community. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then adjacent to that 67 degrees brew, we're talking about beer.
Boom, boom, boom.
Brewery.
Absolutely. So that business it's the heart of my cousin, Olivier Edouard. So he's also my brother. We grew up together in Haiti. So that's my big bro. Yeah, so he loves beer. And so one time we went to Trillium, we were sitting there. He's like, yo, I would love to open a brewery. I'm like, bro, I know how to get licenses for any business. Let's do it. And like, that's literally how we started. And we gathered some other cousins, found an amazing brewer, and we've been cracking ever since.
So dope. Okay, what you said really struck me because I feel like cannabis and breweries, I'm sure, but cannabis specifically, the laws are what's so tricky for businesses to keep up with and maintain. And so, but you're like, it's so easy. So people call you and just get it done. Yeah.
Yeah, people can call me and they get it done. And the thing is like you can do anything in life. How much time and energy and effort are you willing to put into learning it and doing it? We started this licensing process in 2017. We're finally going to open our doors in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's a process and a journey. The thing is, if you have a desire, the universe does not put that in there to play with you. The blueprint of that desire is within it. In the moment you have it, the journey has begun. It's when we think it has to go a certain way within a certain time, within a certain, situation that we start losing faith.
And that goes back to that flow card.
That's it.
Like
that's it.
Rigid, but you got to be like water. You got to just
go with the flow. The thing is, like, this is one thing I learned is that I am not the doer of my actions, because I don't even think the thoughts that precede those actions, where do they come from? If I can't identify me as a generation of those thoughts and as the generation of all my movement, I am not the doer of my actions. There's a divine intelligence that's literally living through me, and my ego comes and hijacks that action and says, I did it. That's mine. That's me. And that produces separation within me. The moment I identify anything as the divine intelligence, I realize that God's doing it. Like, am I talking to you? No, God is talking to you, and I'm talking to God.
Completely.
Right? We are not the doers, but the ego will keep us thinking that we're doing everything.
Right. Yeah. So just keep it moving. So 3 years later, 4 years,
3 years later. 4 years later, nosotros aquí.
Dang. But you stay with it. You stay with the vision. That's what I'm loving about you already. And so when you have your professor hat on, how much of your discussions are about cannabis?
All of it. I teach Cannabis Law.
Incredible. And have like how recent is this? Have you seen an influx in people? Is it mandatory that people attend this class, or is it like an elective?
It's an elective. So I started out at Suffolk, and I started teaching it there because there weren't many cannabis attorneys in Massachusetts. So that bothered me because I wanted people to stop calling me. Part one, I have certain life experiences that I wanted to share with my students, that hopefully they could know that you can't find joy, success, or abundance in a job. Find out what the fuck you want to do and then do that. Because I thought that I needed a big law firm job, but that shit crippled me and made me depressed. So now my biggest, I think, most fulfilling aspect of it is when my students come up to me and say, yo, I took your class and I didn't take that big law firm offer, and I went and did this. One of my former students, she has a provisional license for a lab in Worcester. Like, that shit's hella fulfilling to me.
Yes.
Like, it's seeing my students really digest the concept that they can do or have anything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I just use the law to get people in front of me so I can teach them their own greatness.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I know that's something that I just like filled out an alumni survey, and that's something I feel was missing. I just needed like more magic. Of course, they weren't giving it to me in like this scientific STEM situation, but like, where was the magic? I got out and I was like devoid of anything, any joy. So like, we got to bring it back. We have to infuse it. So thank you for that work.
No, my pleasure. Big mama out here.
What's the question that you get asked most often about cannabis, and what is your answer?
I think the question I get asked the most is like, how expensive is it to go through the process? Mm-hmm. And my response is, it depends on how creative you can get with bartering and exchange, because at the end of it, you're going to need to identify a piece of real estate and hold it as you navigate licensing, which can be anywhere from 6 months to a year to 2 years. Mm-hmm. So you're paying rent, or if you own it, you have to identify real estate. You have to get your site plan. You have to get architectural plans done. You're probably going to need an attorney. So those are the costs that people aren't aware of that really increase licensing. In Massachusetts, the license application is like $300, and your annual fee for a retail store is like what, $10,000. So it's not that expensive, but getting the license is what costs a lot of money.
Definitely. Okay. It's so real. And that's what I feel like I'm like absorbing about you is your ability to be like very ethereal and very like meta. And at the same time be like, these are the details that we're living in this 3D world. Like you have to have you have to get shit done.
This is literally why it's so hard to talk to people, because anything I say, I'm seeing it on all these dimensions. And I can literally see it in my head and how like the electrons and the muons are fucking, I see it all. And so I have to process and synthesize everything that's going on in my head and just put it in a way that's not, and put it in a way that's not too crazy to process.
Well, okay, let's go there then. How did you get to this point? Did cannabis help you with this view?
I think that I've always been a seeker of truth. Ever since I was a child, I wanted to know what the truth was. Like I was in a Christian church that was founded by like white people from Mississippi, that kind of missionary work. And everybody used to catch the Holy Ghost. I'm like, bro, that shit is not catching me. And that was the question that I had in my mind. Like, are they faking it? Is there something wrong with me? And so I went on this like big spiritual journey, became deeply Christian. Then I went into Islam. Then I went into Rastafari. Then I went into martial arts for about 10 years. And I trained in like 8 different disciplines. And I learned Hindu Eastern medicine. And then I found Haitian spirituality. So it definitely was a path to seeking truth and then uncovering lies and then discovering the truth of who I am, where we are, when we are, what we are, why we are.
Going back to your roots at the circle right back.
Right back to where I came from. It's the journey, the hero's journey.
Amazing.
It was in me all along. I am the master.
Yes. Amazing. Okay. So what are your favorite resources? I want to know cannabis wise, but also because you're you and just so amazing and I'm learning everything. Like, what are all your favorite resources?
Yeah, I would say go to the Cannabis Control Commission website. They have a lot of documents, guidance that they've written that's pretty good. And then visit the places yourself. Like, do your own research in terms of like, go experience it, read the regulations. It's not that difficult, I promise you. It's boring, but read it and then you'll understand the industry.
Hey, that's an important distinction and a very simple takeaway. Boring isn't difficult.
Exactly.
Okay. And then, like, what are you reading? What are your waves?
Man, I read so many different types of books. I think the book that I'm loving right now, but that, I go to all the time, I think it's Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die by, I think something Truman.
All right.
Anyways, it's a book that talks about how all ailments within the body literally develop as a psychological, emotional state. And for example, they talk about women who have breast cancer have self-love issues and they don't set boundaries and they overexert themselves and they usually suffer from tremendous rage. That rage is held within the heart chakra. And then also it stifles the truth in the throat chakra, which develops lung, heart ailments, all this shit like gastrointestinal shit where they have heartburn. And so it all started from that rage that was unspoken, unhonored, unrespected. Like, it will get its time. All your emotions will get their time.
They will. And that's something that I tapped into with that flow card. And that's why it has that, like, it's a blue water droplet with the orange imagery, just connecting our creative space, our womb space, our sacral space, which is like what we're here to do, and how that's been stifled. And so we haven't been expressing ourselves. We haven't let things flow. And there's a major connection there between how we are expressing and what we're holding in and how that gets trapped in the body and then stifles our life force, basically.
Exactly. I think, we live in a society now where everybody gets attacked for their opinions. Mm-hmm. And that creates a situation where you're seeing a lot of fragmentation of people's personalities, where they're showing you a particular politically correct face, but in reality, they don't actually feel that. And that fragmentation harms them and it harms you because it will be reflected in society as above, so below. So that which is in the darkness will be revealed to you and mirrored in society. So if you secretly hate hate all women, and then you're coming out talking about women, but you know what's going to be reflected in your imagery? Things that support that hidden subconscious hatred for women to keep it supported.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the vibes don't lie.
The vibes, but if you said some shit in public and I called you out and educated you on it, then that energy starts to break. The pattern that's within, like it's a consciousness pattern. It gets broken up. But now that consciousness is not being broken up. People are being put into these echo chambers that reflect their own fucking ideas. And it's kind of, I mean, it is what it is. I have to accept it because that's what the divine wants.
Right. Exactly. Just walking this paradox all the time. Definitely. This is incredible. I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know, but here I am with you and it's really magical. Thank you.
Bang, bang, bang.
So where can people find you? And how can they find you?
So you can find my personal Instagram is Legally Great, and I'm Legally Great on all my platforms. And you can find Dispensary at The Major Bloom. Oh yeah, I have a podcast, the Legally Great podcast. It's on all platforms. It's about intersecting business and spirituality. First episode is pretty dope.
The first one.
Yeah, the first episode is my friend from high school. She was able to cure her breast cancer within 3 months because she just removed herself from all the toxicities in her life, from her boyfriend, her habits, her roommates, her job. Like she removed all of them. Within 3 months, she was cured.
Was she on like a Louise Hay wave at all?
I am not sure what she was. She was yogaing.
Yeah. Everything positive, just turning it around.
You can everything is energy.
That's very good. Okay. Check out episode 1 then. And what else would you like to leave with the listeners today, if anything, Laury?
Man, just remember that you have the divine within you, and everything you feel, you have the right to speak. You have the right to experience. And so what I encourage everyone to do is to find the courage to love all aspects of yourself and stand up for your own truth, because there's an inner child that oftentimes we abandon when the exterior world does not accept our perspective or our view. It is time for us to stand up for that inner child and love that child. Do not abandon it despite the world abandoning you, because those desires are a reflection of the desires of the divine creator that created you. And by you having that desire, you're walking in your purpose. If you desire to eat popcorn, that's God saying, I want to experience popcorn because I don't have a body where I'm at right now. And if I created a body, it's for me to experience myself and my creations. So we sit here when we label things good or bad because of what society has, and you're stifling yourself. So today, I encourage you and I empower you to stand up for your desires and for whatever you feel. If you feel it, it should be there, and experience it.
And so it is.
Ashe, and it is so. Thank you for having me. This was really cool.
Thank you so much for tuning in to 6 Degrees from Cannabis. If you connected with this episode, please share it with a friend who would benefit from hearing it too. Tap the subscribe button to be notified when the next 6 Degrees episode is released. You can find more information about holistic healing, the Follow Your Heart Oracle deck, and what I do by visiting ToriRerick.com. If you message us on Instagram at the 6 Degrees from Cannabis, we'll be sure to message you back. Bliss be with you.